Stop wasting time. This is the truth about Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve. And if you guys are trying to pick between Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve and figure out which one is best to work with, listen up, because one of these might be the wrong choice for you. I've actually used both, and if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have wasted so much time figuring this out the hard way. And some people swear by Final Cut, like swear by it. And others act like DaVinci Resolve is the holy grail of editing. But here's the truth. Both have major strengths and both have very frustrating flaws. So today, I'm going to be breaking it down side by side, no fluff, no bias, just what actually matters when choosing the best video editor. If you stick around, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one will fit your workflow and which one will actually hold you back. Every video editor does the same thing, but not really. I mean, we gotta look at their core. Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve, they do have their similarities, right? They both have timelines, they both let you cut, they both let you trim and arrange clips, and they both have effects, transitions, and color grading tools. But the way they handle those things are on completely different spectrums, right? I mean, they both have their uniqueness, and that's what makes each one special. So if you guys are just starting out, or if you're thinking of switching, let's go head to head between Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve and figure out which one is the best editing software for you. Let's start out with Final Cut Pro, which is Apple's editing powerhouse, but with a catch. First off, Final Cut Pro is a one-time purchase of $300, which means there's no monthly fees, no subscriptions. Apple also gives you a full 90-day trial, which is actually kind of rare for professional softwares out there. And, you know, Final Cut, it is insanely fast on your Mac. Yeah. That's why, you know, Apple, Mac, Apple, Final Cut. Yeah.
It's funny, you know, it's a good story. It's funny, you're a funny guy.
It also has this thing called the magnetic timeline. And don't get me wrong, I have a love-hate relationship with the magnetic timeline. But the magnetic timeline is something that will keep everything snapped together perfectly, right? And there's really no gaps, no misaligned clips. And I feel like it is good for beginners because you don't have to worry about everything getting messy. Let's just be honest for a second, okay? Because it took over a decade for Apple to release Final Cut Pro 11. Like, they've been stuck on 10 for years, like years. Now, with Final Cut Pro 11, it did introduce AI-powered editing. And with that, one of the greatest features is Apple introduced the magnetic masking tool, which lets you cut out backgrounds in seconds, which means no green screen, no blue screen, no nothing like that required. It does have some downfalls if you have shaky footage, but overall, it is freaking crazy fast, okay? And if you guys are used to like other things like rotoscoping in After Effects, that takes hours, if not days, or in DaVinci Resolve, they have that magic masking tool, but it is very power hungry, right? This thing, it analyzes the footage seamlessly, and it's just freaking crazy. All right, the next feature that Final Cut introduces automatic captions, and Final Cut can actually transcribe your dialogue into captions instantly. Sorry guys for pausing the video, but I want to jump on here real quick to clear something up. If you are not running one of the latest processors like an M1, M2, M3, or M4 running macOS Sequoia, the transcribe to caption feature will not work. Hence why I'm not showing you how it actually works. But there is a lot of YouTube tutorials out there showing you and showcasing how powerful this feature is. All right, let's jump right back into the video. Here's where Final Cut will struggle. Final Cut not only is a Mac-only software, which means if you're on Windows or Linux, Final Cut won't exist for you, but it also, with the free version, quote unquote, the trial, which is 90 days, after that 90 days, you either would have to pay up or lose access. And let me just say this, that it doesn't mean that you're going to lose your project files, because it does have your project files saved. The only problem is that you can't access them unless you actually fork up, you know, the $300 to use the software. Now, the other thing that I've noticed is the color grading tools. And honestly, I wish that Apple, when they released Final Cut Pro 11, they would have thought about all this and said, you know, we need to step up and give you guys more tools as far as color grading and as far as audio, because these features lack. Like DaVinci Resolve, no matter what, will completely destroy any other software out there when it comes to color grading, right? And here's the other caveat that we just discussed is the audio. Like, Apple, why have you not put in some sort of advanced audio feature like, you know, even Premiere Pro? They have Audition, but you have to go into another software to make it work, but it seamlessly meshes together. Final Cut doesn't have anything like that. The other thing is the huge project files. Final Cut's library system, it eats up storage like fast, like insanely fast. It eats up storage space. I do not know why, but it does. So if you guys are a Mac user who wants speed and simplicity, Final Cut is a great choice. But if you need more control, it has some serious limitations. Let's move on to DaVinci Resolve though. The editor's choice, right? The editor that is literally taking over everything. And it hasn't taken over Hollywood exactly yet, but it will get there, I think. But unlike Apple, which gives you that limited 90-day trial, Blackmagic was like, I see your 90-day trial and I'm going to surpass it. I'm going to give you guys a full free version. Did you hear that? Yeah. DaVinci Resolve offers a free version. It's just crazy to think about that DaVinci Resolve has that free version available, but there is some limitations, like you don't get some of the features that the studio version offers, and it's not a big deal because I literally started out with the free version and I've worked on the free version for years. I started out with it working on wedding projects and commercials, and I never felt like I needed to update to the studio version until I ran across Qazi's YouTube page and I got into color grading. So I invested in DaVinci Resolve Studio. If you guys want the studio version, it is $295. It's actually $5 cheaper than Final Cut Pro. Like back in the day, you could buy a coffee with $5. Now you can't, not at Starbucks anymore. It's almost like what, $8 for a cup of coffee? What? Freaking insane. But it is cheaper than Final Cut Pro. Now, what makes DaVinci Resolve such a beast? Well, we got to think about this because we already talked about this, you know, earlier, where it is the industry leading color grading, which means if you guys want the professional grade HDR support, the power windows, the tracking tools, you know, DaVinci will win hands down. It also has the dedicated workspaces. So instead of like cramming everything into one place, DaVinci actually splits up the editing. Like it splits up different pages for editing, VFX, color, and audio. It puts it all into separate pages, which keeps everything way more organized. It also has the Fairlight audio suite, and unlike Final Cut, DaVinci actually gives you a full professional sound editing system built right in. And it also has a cross-platform support. So it doesn't matter if you guys are working on a Mac, if you're working on a Windows or a Linux operating system, it will work. It also supports more file formats. Like you can drop in Red Code RAW, Blackmagic RAW, ARRI RAW. No extra plugins needed. It's absolutely crazy easy. And, you know, Final Cut Pro, you do have to download all the external plugins to make raw code work.
Oh, no, no. No.
It also has multiple timelines and it allows you to collaborate worldwide through the Blackmagic Cloud. But here's the thing, just like any NLE or editing software out there, every software has its own problems, right? And DaVinci Resolve isn't excluded. It has its own problems, one being a steeper learning curve. DaVinci Resolve, it isn't as plug and play as Final Cut, and it does take time to learn. And there is a reason why there's so many tutorials on YouTube on DaVinci Resolve, because it has that learning curve. There's a lot involved inside DaVinci Resolve. I've been on DaVinci Resolve for about 7 years now, and I still don't know everything. It's packed with so much stuff that you can never learn in a lifetime on every single shortcut, every single nick and knack that it has. So there's that. The other thing that you'll run into is that it is very resource heavy. So if your computer is older, DaVinci might struggle a little, but there is workarounds, and I showed you guys that in some of my prior videos, so do check them out. Just ways to speed up your editing workflow. Now, the other thing that we got to think about is crashes, because DaVinci Resolve isn't exempt. It does crash, okay? And I am one of those victims that fallen into that when I did an update to a beta version, and I thought I lost literally every project because my project backups weren't working, and it was a little scary to think about. I actually posted a video on it right there, and do check it out if you're running into that issue, okay? But Blackmagic does continuously release updates, unlike Apple, where it doesn't. You have to sit for almost a decade to get the greatest and latest features from them. But with that, here's a quick tip. Do not download the beta version if you're working on a professional project. Wait for a couple of the updates to come out before you update to the latest version of DaVinci Resolve. Now, even with these downsides, I still feel like DaVinci will still win in many professional workflows, especially if you're serious about color grading or you're actually serious about getting into post-production and learning how to edit. Let's go back to this question, Final Cut versus DaVinci Resolve. Which one is actually better? If you guys want a fast, beginner-friendly editor and you're on a Mac, I feel like Final Cut Pro is still the way to go. But if you want professional grade tools like full creative control and a free version that beats most paid softwares, DaVinci Resolve is the best bet. But with that being said, if you guys are just getting into editing and you don't want to invest in that $300 for Final Cut Pro and you want as much time as you want for free, then download DaVinci Resolve, because you have that unlimited time restraint on using the software. And on top of that, if you guys are learning on DaVinci Resolve free version, why would you waste your money and spend it on Final Cut Pro only to learn a whole other editing software? Like, if you're learning on DaVinci Resolve free version, invest in DaVinci Resolve Studio. I think that just makes sense for anyone, right? Here's my personal take on what you guys should do next. If I were starting today, I'd go with DaVinci Resolve because it's free, right? There's no risk. There's nothing coming out of your pocket. You can download it now for free off the Blackmagic site. And I feel like it's more powerful in the long run. And if you guys ever switch to professional work, it's becoming the industry standard. It's not there yet, but it's getting there, okay? I feel like give it a few years and Hollywood will move out of Avid and move into DaVinci Resolve. That's my personal take on everything. I want to hear from you guys though. Which one would you guys choose? Do you guys prefer Final Cut simplicity, or do you guys prefer DaVinci's powerhouse? Drop a comment below and let me know your guys' thoughts on it, which one you would actually go with. And if you guys want to see how to actually start editing like a real project in DaVinci Resolve, check out this video right here. This is the video I posted last week on one of our real life projects. And I just break down everything that you guys need to know. And lastly, guys, if you haven't been following along, we are doing a raffle currently for DaVinci Resolve Studio. That's right, you can actually win a copy of DaVinci Resolve Studio. And all you have to do is just go to the description box and click that link. And I actually got a comment about it, and they were like, hey, if we already have DaVinci Resolve Studio, can we possibly get a different tool? And here's the answer to that. Yes. I am gonna do something a little bit different with this giveaway. So I'm gonna give you guys the option of either getting DaVinci Resolve Studio, or you guys can get an Amazon gift card for the value of equaling up to what DaVinci Resolve would cost, which is $295. So you guys would get an Amazon gift card, or you guys can choose DaVinci Resolve. All right, so go ahead and enter in below if you haven't already done so, and we will see you in the next video. Practice and create.